first trip to Norway, and it's a very, very pleasant country. So thank you very much for inviting me. What I want to talk about is innovation and entrepreneurship in higher education, and a lot of this has to do with our position in the higher education market in San Antonio. So in addition to being the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, I'm also the Dean of the College of Business, which takes up most of my time. I help the Provost's office out as needed. Let me give you a little information about Texas A&M University and also the San Antonio campus. Donna talked to you a little bit about, or mentioned, University of Texas at Austin. In Texas, there are two main systems of universities. One is University of Texas, and the other one is Texas A&M University System. And Texas A&M University System has a main flagship university, which you probably are all familiar with, the Aggies. And they have almost 50,000 students and are a very traditional residential campus. But there are 10 other regional campuses that are usually in mostly rural areas that are much, much smaller and much more associated with the economics of the particular regions. San Antonio is one of those regional campuses. We are one of the newer campuses in the A&M system. We were actually established in 2009, so we are a fairly new campus. We were actually established to close the gaps in Texas. So we have a very high Hispanic population, and the governor has charged the regional institutions with educating and providing bachelor's degrees to the Hispanic population, most of which are first-generation students. So our demographics are 65% Hispanic. We are 60% female, which actually represents an interesting fact for higher education in Texas. It tends to be going more females in higher education. And then, of course, the Hispanic population is nearly, it's getting, in San Antonio, it's more than 50% of the population, and in Texas, it's growing quite rapidly. Our average age is 31 years old, so the majority of our students are working, have careers, mostly lower-paying careers. They have families and taking the full-time classes while they're juggling work and classes. And 70% of our students are on some sort of federal financial aid, so most of them are living at or just barely above the poverty level. And so we are charged as a regional institution to provide education to students. So we are not Stanford by any stretch of the imagination. We are not University of Texas at Austin. We are not Texas A&M College Station. We are a small regional institution that struggles with finances, funding models for building programs. We are funded primarily by formula funding from the state, so based on enrollments, we get reimbursed for credit hours that students enroll in. So the innovation that comes out of our university is usually made by, required by necessity. So one of the first things that we identified as being a problem that we had was a lack of course content for students, availability of course content. So we originally started on the campus of a community college, and community colleges are two-year colleges that provide mostly vocational technical training with some academic general education coursework. And I didn't mention that A&M San Antonio was an upper-level university, so we are strictly junior, senior, and graduate-level programs. We have no freshmen and sophomores. And so we have very close partnerships with the community college districts. So one of the things we identified was that when we first started our programs, we were on the campus of the community college and serviced by their bookstore as far as our coursework is concerned. And the bookstore wasn't very interested in servicing our population. We had 122 students, not very big and not very much, creating much business for the bookstore. So they did not provide very good service for us. And so we were constantly looking for, as we grew, and we did grow, we currently actually have 4,500 students right now. So when we started in the fall of 2000 until spring of 2014, we grew from 122 students to 4,500 students. So Essentially, in order to overcome this idea of the bookstore not servicing our students, we toyed with the idea of bringing a bookstore onto our campus, but because of the volume of course materials that our students would probably buy, bookstores were not very interested in doing that. And so we decided that we were going to develop an institutional ebook program. And it was actually in the fall of 2009 when we received a grant from the U.S. Department of Education to develop an institutional ebook program. And right now, A&M San Antonio, with only its 4,500 students, has the biggest public university institutional ebook program in the country. There are some private schools that have single publisher agreements, but we have multiple publisher agreements. So the original grant was for $300,000 to begin this institutional ebook program. And so essentially it was a 2-year grant program. And the idea that would distinguish this program from other ebook programs is that it was multi-publisher. So we went out and negotiated with all the major publishers, Pearson's, Wiley, Cengage, McGraw-Hill, and some also smaller niche publishers. Whatever the faculty were interested in, we would go out and negotiate agreements with the publishers. Essentially, our idea was that we wanted our textbooks to be under 10% of our tuition. Well, our tuition is quite low for a 3-semester credit hour class, which is a one class at a U.S. university. Our tuition was about $650. So we wanted our textbooks to be under 10% of that. So we averaged about $60 per book for our courses. And since I am the Dean of the College of Business, if any of you are business faculty or are aware of textbook prices for the College of Business, in U.S. dollars, many textbooks are over $200. So our textbook fees are quite low. And it's a course fee model. So students pay a course fee as part of their tuition and fees. And every student in the course has access to the required course material. That's also actually one of the benefits of the program, is that we found that students were not buying their textbooks and so didn't have access to the course materials they needed to be successful. With this program, they got it as a part of the course fee model, and everyone had access to those particular books without having to actually take their financial aid check, walk to the bookstore, and spend their financial aid check on a book as opposed to paying their electric bill with it. Most of them would prefer to either pay their car bill or the electric bill instead of buying the textbook. One of the things that we had to deal with, though, is that because we're on the southern side of San Antonio and it's a lower income population, most of them don't have access or reliable access to the internet, especially not high bandwidth internet. And so we had to negotiate printing rights from the publishers. So publishers providing us with PDFs to provide to a printing company, third-party printing company, so students can actually buy printed copies of these ebooks at about 2 cents a page. So it's very cheap. So textbooks, they were able to buy a hard copy of the textbook for about $20. That was an optional thing that students could do if they wanted to. One of the interesting things about this program is that faculty were able to customize the textbook. So if you had a course that could pull from multiple books, different chapters from different books, and actually customize it for your curriculum, and faculty really enjoy that. And so it was a way to customize the books and provide a really customized learning for the students. So the grant itself did not actually buy books for the students. What it did was develop some infrastructure. So we hired an instructional designer and to work on some course development in terms of how to incorporate the ebook into the course and to provide infrastructure for the particular program. So one of the things that we had to deal with was, of course, getting permission to add these course fees to the courses, and then subsequently, when we did contract with a bookstore to provide services on campus, and that bookstore doesn't really sell a lot of books. They sell mostly T-shirts and school supplies, mainly because the College of Business is about 100% ebooks, 99% ebooks, and so it's with the rest of the campus, their courses are about 25% of ebooks. So anyway, just about 50% of our courses are ebook courses now, and we estimate that we save students about $1 million every 2 years in their cost of their higher education, because in the institutions where tuition is relatively low, books play a significant part of the cost of education, and one way to bring down that cost of education to provide more access is to bring down the price of course materials. So that was essentially the first problem that we solved. The bookstore wasn't servicing us. Students didn't have access to course material. We're not spending their financial aid money on material. And so to develop this ebook program with the printing option it really solved that problem for us, and it has turned out to be a very successful program, and one that we're able to market in the community as being an advantage to coming to A&M San Antonio. Okay, so the second problem that we identified was essentially the idea that because of our campus structure, we have a problem with availability of classrooms in the evening. College of Business has about 70% of our classes are in the evening, and so we were at full capacity after 5 p.m. There was nowhere to put any additional classes in the evening. So we had to figure out a way how to put evening students in daytime seats. A very difficult dilemma for us. And so what we ended up doing was developing what we call the HighFlex program. And the HighFlex program is a program where students can elect to attend face-to-face. So it is actually live, face-to-face in the classroom. They can choose to attend it synchronously online or then asynchronously as well. And they can do any of those modalities at any particular class time they want to do that. So if they feel like there's a particular topic that they want to actually be there face-to-face with, they can do that. Most of these were offered because we're trying to get evening students in daytime seats. Were offered during the lunch hour time frame, so they could watch the class or do it synchronously online at work during their lunch hour. And it's been actually very successful. We had 7 classes in the fall of 2013 with about 300 students. It was very successful, so much in demand that we expanded to 16 classes in the spring of 14 with about 1,000 students. Still great success for the students like it very much, and we've decided that we're going to phase our MBA program into this format over the next 2 years. So that it's been a really good experiment for us. Okay, so I just want to spend the last few minutes closing up on this. What are the next innovations to come? Will obviously be spurred on by necessity for us, for funding problems. We're looking into competency-based models, alternative financing models. So how can we get income from other sources? We're never going to be a big research institution to be able to get those kinds of funding. Individualized learning, which goes along with competency-based. We're not Stanford, we're not Princeton, we're not University of Texas, or even A&M College Station, so we need to provide individualized learning. And one of the interesting things is this idea of intrapreneurship and entrepreneurship and how you can stimulate that kind of interest and activity. In other words, it's not just providing individuals with the skills to be entrepreneurs, but it's providing information to change culture in organizations so that they are interested and foster that entrepreneurial spirit within an organization as opposed to having someone start their own business. So how can we look at education, separating these education silos, secondary school, community college for trade schools, and higher education, how we can deep compartmentalize that to make the time that someone spends in education shorter. And MOOCs, well, MOOCs are not even our radar. It's an interesting idea in terms of recruitment. Might take that back and think if I can do that. But essentially, we're so revenue starved for money that there's no way we can afford to give away our product. So anyway, that's my presentation, so I hopefully got in the time frame. Thank you.